experience. Let me share with you the process my team uses when we work with clients. So the slide that you're seeing right now is called the Foresight process, and it's a process that I've invented and that we use with our clients. So I'm going to say it starts with sensing, and that is the truth if we're going to do a process from end to end. But as you'll discover in a moment, we can jump in and start in nearly any of these 4 stages. But in the sensing phase, the question we're asking is, what's happening out there in the wider world and what's happening in here? So let's use a community as an example. In the sensing phase within a community, we might be looking at data on how the future workforce is going to change, right? Or how the future economy is changing, or how the demographics of the neighborhoods are changing, right? We're looking into the future to see what's coming towards us, but we're also looking at ourselves, right? What's happening in here? Are we as an organization facing a cliff of baby boomer retirements? Are we as an organization lifting up emerging professionals? What's the average age of our management team going to be 10 years down the line if current trends persist? Right? What's the story that our community tells itself about itself? So in this sensing phase, think of it like having really powerful radar. We are putting our radar out into the environment to see what we can pick up. What trends and forces do we know we're going to have to deal with in the coming weeks, months, and years? In the imagining phase, we're imagining several plausible futures. As a professional futurist, I can tell you there's not one single future. There are multiple plausible futures, and they're dependent on 2 factors. Outside forces, things that you can't control but happen to you that you've got to deal with, but also inside forces, things you might be doing to yourself to make the future emerge one way or another way. So in this phase, we imagine 4 plausible futures. We look at a challenging future for your domain, an expectable future for your domain, and 2 aspirational or visionary futures. Then it's time to define the future we want. We would call this your preferred future. But we start looking at the future that we want to come true. So if we're doing a 2040 plan, we say, what do we want to be true in our community in 2040? And if that's the case, where do we have to be in 2035? Where do we have to be in 2030? Where do we have to be in 2025? That process is called backcasting, where you start with your vision of what outrageous and ambitious success looks like, and then you back up and you back up and you back up until you get to the things that you have to start activating today. And that takes us to this next step, which is the doing stage. It's so common that once you do a visioning process, once you do a futuring process, it all sounds amazing. It gets people really energized, and then they have to go back to their day-to-day work. So in this doing phase, we have a series of different techniques that we use to help you create time and energy so that you can get the future going even while you're doing your day-to-day work. And then, like all good processes, we have to ask, is this stuff working? And if it's not, do we need more sensing? Do we need more imagining? Have we defined things improperly? Are we not focusing on that flywheel of success, getting momentum to get things done? So that's the 4-phase foresight process that we use. And one of the ways that this is very successful with clients is it allows you to sort of stress test your current strategy against what is likely happening, right? So that's one of the great values of doing strategic foresight. It's also a great way for you to really dust yourself off. If you just have felt like, oh man, our planning processes need some life, they need some energy. We need to think beyond these 4 walls. We need to get a whole different perspective on what's happening in that wide, wide world. Strategic foresight is great for that. And of course, and most importantly, strategic foresight is wonderful if you are an organization that wants a competitive advantage. Why is strategic foresight a competitive advantage? Because when you ask top leaders how much time they spend thinking about the future in a really strategic way with their senior management colleagues, you know how much time they spend? less than 3%. So if you want to stake out a future that you can own, right? Most executive teams aren't doing it. And you really put yourself in rare air when you use a process like strategic foresight to do that for your organization and in your domain. That's what strategic foresight is, and that's the competitive advantage it can give you.